aspects related to a council. But when you are doing major works like the ETA, wastewater plants, water supply, you've got no other way of funding than by raising debt, and that probably balances out a bit with intergenerational equity, in that why should the ratepayers of today pay for something that future generations are going to benefit from? They share the cost in achieving that benefit.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
On my behalf and behalf of all the councillors, thank you again, Mr. Van Hennep, because of course our debt ratio is not over 10%, and I'm very pleased about that. The money that has been spent in this triennium and the triennium before perhaps, and forced us to spend it, has been spent for the good of the district, the good of the people. It strikes to the heart of the social well-being of not only the inhabitants but the whole environmental district of Taupo, so that's great. So, any more further questions, please? Being none, all in favour? Aye. Carried. I'd now like to move to agenda item number 13, and I'm mindful that I have to leave at 3:45. Item number 13 is governance for the incoming council. Now, I'd like to talk on this. People must realise this is not a resolution. It doesn't become law. It becomes a recommendation that we think, from our experiences of the past, would be helpful for the incoming council. They certainly don't have to abide by it or anything like that. So we've all got our views, I'm sure, on it. And Mr. Gilbert and Ms. McLeod, if you would address us on this agenda item, would be appreciated.
Right, thank you, Your Worship. This item follows on from an earlier request that Council had made to look to putting a recommendation to the new Council on the structure, the potential structure of the new Council going forward. Now, we've had a number of workshops on this, and following the last workshop, staff were requested to put this report together and bring to Council, and we were specifically asked to look at the new Plymouth model and how that might apply to this Council. Now, we've looked in detail at the new Plymouth model, and our feeling is that it doesn't quite fit, which is the reason why we've put a number of alternatives there for you. So it's, I think you've got to read this report in light of the fact that it's taking one model and then looking at its application to ourselves, rather than looking at the whole gamut of options. So I'm going to take the report as being read, but Ms. Gilbert and I are very happy to actually take any questions that may be on the report.
Okay, well, I'll open up some questions from the Council, and the first being Councillor McCully.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just the second paragraph on page 13, after 3 background. I attended the last workshop on this, and as I recall, nobody at that time asked for this report, but it says here the corporate planning manager was asked to provide a report to this Council, and I wonder if those who did ask for this report to be put on Council could please speak to it.
Yes, I'm happy to speak to that, Councillor McCurry. Deputy Mayor Don Ormsby, my very capable deputy, myself as Mayor, asked the staff to do it. This is my Council agenda, and I decide, along with my compatriot, what goes on it, and it's on there. Any further questions about the agenda item?
I just want to make a comment, Your Worship. The only reason that we suggested to the CEO and the Deputy CEO that this would be done after 2 workshops, I basically sat here, shook my head, because you didn't go anywhere. I might as well stayed at home and watch TV.
How true.
Now, there was a suggestion by my good friend over here, Councillor Hickling, because we went to the local government, about the new Plymouth model. And we had to start somewhere. Otherwise, we're just walking around like turkeys with our heads cut off. And that's how it came about. Now, I can tell you now, I don't agree with the new Plymouth model. I think it's crap, for want of a better word. And that's how this got here. Because I'm sorry, Councillor McKelvey and the rest of the councils in this room, you gave no steer whatsoever to the Deputy CEO and the CEO. In fact, I watched the poor CEO up there. She just shook her head. She didn't know where she was. So at the end of the day, something had to be done because it was raised, and this is why it's here today. If you don't like it, well, it's a real simple thing. let's get on with the next item on the book.
And I'd like to reimburse what Deputy Mayor Ormsby said there. Somebody has to be the mayor for another 10 days. Somebody has to be the deputy. Somebody has to make decisions. They were made. And let me say also that you're quite right. It was brought up at the local government conference we attended in Auckland about this new Plymouth model. I've read it. I concur with you, sir. It is crap. However, on page 11, 13/10, option B, assessment whole of council, that is brilliant in my opinion. Any further questions, comments? Councillor Welch?
Well, I'll just make the comment that I appreciate that Councillor Ormsby and yourself may have put this item here, but I think we that following the workshop, although a vote was not taken, I think the majority then of those that did attend believed that the best thing to do would be to leave it up to the incoming council, whoever they might be, to sort it out themselves, and because they would possibly might in the end come up with something entirely different. But one thing I will say is that following the Civil Defence and Emergency Management meeting on yesterday, that committee did make a resolution that put forward the idea that that committee should be a standalone, should be a standing committee of council and should report to council, and the composition of that committee should be retained.
And I support that because that committee has a focus, and that is civil defence. Councillor Ormsby had his hand up.
Well, I think that goes without the Civil Act says you have to do that. There's no way around that. Well, I come back to what Councillor Welch did. I sit here. Now, I'm going to ask the Deputy CEO over here, after the last workshop, Mr McLeod, was I right when you sat up there like a stunned mullet and you didn't know what direction you got from this chamber as a workshop? That's the impression I got from you.
And I'm happy to go along with democracy anytime, anywhere, any place, because that's what our grandparents fought world wars for. However, I would like it minuted that after having 3 years' experience in the Taupo District Council, whether I'm re-elected or not, I would sincerely, seriously recommend to the incoming members, whoever they are, that they seriously consider option B, page 11, as the way to run the District Council going forward. Now, any more discussion? Councillor Hickling?
Well, being as my name's been mentioned regarding the new Plymouth model, I now have the information in front of me, Councillor.
Well, I know you and I didn't have it. That's why I thought we're going to get it one way.
That's why we asked for it. And I totally agree that it's not suitable for Taupo to move forward. Thank you, Your Worship.
You're welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Councillor Kosowski.
I feel a bit uneasy about all of this. I believe that irrespective of what the new council will choose, to me it seems imperative that any new models, if any are chosen, are linked to a general rates review at the same time. Because I don't believe that you can have a new model, say for argument's sake like Model B, without looking at the general rates review at the same time, because they are intricately linked, and you must, in my viewpoint, have equitable and fairness with both systems. And I'll put my head on the block. I'm quite happy. I would recommend to the new council that they at least investigate option B with a Taupo community board, and as I said earlier, that it also looks at the general rates function.
I think I would support you there, Councillor Kosowski, but they can't be done together. And for my personal belief, I know there's things we'd have to work through. I know there's issues, but this parochial situation has to stop, and I think we should have one rating base. But there's a lot of work to get to that situation. But hey, I would concur there. Anything further? Thank you, Councillor Gathergood. Councillor McCoy?
Yes, I would not like to think that as a member of this council, I would be trying to tell any new incoming council how best to structure the new council. The point being that structures often have very little to do with the efficiency and the effectiveness of delivering services. And I would suggest to you that if you look at the health regimes of New Zealand over the last 20 years, you will see that restructuring, in fact, cost at times rather than gained the public. So the only point I would like to make, Mr. Chairman, is let's keep the local in local government in the Taupo District.
Fine. Anything further on this issue? Councillor Ufagan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've read through this item several times very carefully. I agree that the New Plymouth model is very complex, and I do not believe that it would be suitable for this district. I believe that there could well be benefits in a whole of council model. However, I do concur with the suggestions that have been made that it is not our place to make this decision. I note that it refers to tensions that exist. I've not been aware of tensions that exist between TKMP and TDC, apart from one or two elected members who appear to have had difficulties with the current system. However, it does work effectively at this point. It does look after the local, and my own feeling about this would be that it should be something that is decided by the new incoming council, and I agree with Councillor Christowski in conjunction with a rating review.
Anything further? Anybody?
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Well, I believe it's broke as your mayor, but however, that's irrelevant, and there is a recommendation on the last page. I've been minuted. I hope that I totally support, after my 3 years experience here, going to option B. However, in the interests of moving on, I'm going to move that we make no recommendation and let the new council decide for itself, but I hope they heed what we have minuted. Seconded. Councillor Colby, final. In favour? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Done deal. I'm not going to argue all day over that. Oh, sorry, Councillor Hickling. My apologies, sir.
I'd just like to congratulate the two officers on a really concise report, because it's what we asked for. I appreciate it.
That was a good steer, wasn't it, Councillor?
And Councillor Hickling, I appreciate your help in saying it's what we asked for.
Well, someone has got to make a decision.
Someone has to be your mayor and your deputy, and they're entitled to ask for things to be presented to the council, and you as councillors to listen to them. I might take this opportunity to vacate the chair. Would you like to break now, sir? Or
take a about 10-minute break.
And I'll go and and I will be back in about an hour. Okay. Thank you very much for your indulgence. If the meeting's finished, I would still like to have a beer or two or wine with especially our departing members.